Into the unknown. Into the unknown. Into the unknown. What's up, everybody? Frozen 2 just came out, and you know that means new Frozen merch. I'm going to go ahead and review it. I'm not going to review it as its own standalone movie. I'm going to review it as a sequel. Not just a sequel, a Disney sequel. I'm going to be talking about what it does differently from other Disney sequels that sets it apart. Let's start with soundtrack. Alright, so most Disney sequels, when they come out, they put out these soundtracks that are pretending to be as good as the first one, but let's be honest, they're never as good as the first one. Kind of forced, thrown in, trying to be reminiscent of before, but it's never that good. While the first Frozen has showstoppers such as Love is an Open Door. Love is an open door! Of course, it's going to be popular. It's a duet love song. They're going to be using that for wedding proposals for years to come. We also have Do You Want to Build a Snowman, which one, because it's a simple statement said by a cute kid, obviously people are going to be quoting that. Go away, Anna. Okay, bye. And of course, Let It Go, which is a prodigy of the musical theater scene. Let it go! Let it go! This soundtrack was never really going to live up to the first one. Am I saying that this soundtrack is bad? Absolutely not. This soundtrack is fantastic. Some of the songs even got me emotional. Some of these songs actually deal more with growth than anything, and I think it's beautiful. Have you noticed that every Disney sequel, well, almost every Disney sequel that came out during the Renaissance era looked like it was coming straight out of the Disney Channel? Bad camera angles, heavy drawn lines, not that... animation is just terrible in Disney sequels. That's just a given. There are a couple exceptions. I'll throw that out there. There are a couple exceptions. But overall, that's one of my biggest drawbacks from watching the previous Disney sequels is the lazy animation in comparison to the beautiful first movie. In this movie, it's a whole other ballpark. Instead of being less than or just as good as the first movie, it is so beautiful to look at. Textures, the colors, the environment, it's really, really well done, and I love looking at this movie more than I loved the first one. There are a couple of Disney movies where the whole point of the movie, you know how they ended on happily ever after in the first one? Well, they didn't get married yet. So, we're going to be focusing on that. They're getting married in an hour and a half. Maybe less. Disney sequels like to do that. This one did throw that in there, but more as a side story. It focused so much more on the main conflict, the main story. There are higher things at stake other than they're getting married, but they might not make it to the end. But of course they do, because they're getting married. The child trope is where instead of focusing on the main characters, it talks about how the main characters had a kid and then focusing on that kid and how, one, their adventure is really, really similar to the adult characters, or two, they get in with the bad crowd. And the problem with this trope is that it turns really strong characters from the first movie into annoying parents and takes away a lot of their character development, and it gives us new annoying characters. It does not do that. There are no kids in this movie. When you're watching a Disney sequel, by the end of it, you think to yourself, what was the purpose of this? Did I end up anywhere that I wasn't already in the first one? By that I mean, in a sequel, it's like you have where they left off in the first one, you have a little bit of random adventure in here, and then they end up right back to where they left off in the first one. Nothing changed. The only difference was there was a bad guy and they punched him in the face, and then they were like, hooray, now we get to live happily ever after. Sometimes they do have a purpose where something changes by the end of it, but then by that point you think to yourself, did I have to watch this to get to that? Take Ralph Breaks the Internet as a sequel. The end of Wreck-It Ralph ends with Ralph and Penelope being friends. He has somebody who can actually be a friend with him, and he's accepted now. That's a great happy ending. So what do we do in the next one? Make it so that Ralph and Penelope are no longer friends, and then leave him where he is. It wasn't a sequel really needed. Didn't say it was bad, but it wasn't one that we needed. Whereas in this movie, it almost feels like it had to happen. It was a forced sequel, I will give it that much, but it did so much with this opportunity. Strong character growth. It gave Anna a lot more credit than it did in the first one, which I think was awesome. By the end of it, so many things are put in place that I'm really happy that they are the way they are by the end of the movie, and I think it's awesome. We definitely did not end where we left off in the first one. We've definitely gone far beyond, and it is a movie that needs to be seen in terms of if it has a worthy purpose to watch it. A little bonus of what this movie does is that it is absolutely fully aware of how overblown the first Frozen is. And it makes fun of it a lot, and I think that's hilarious. Go watch Frozen 2. It's a good movie. I support it.